We're now recording. Okay.
Don, was that operation? Was that Snake Man?
It was the same area because we had worked that goddamn area to death because I was surprised when they said we had to go back in. And I said, as soon as the helicopters know they're going to know we're in the area. And they said, no, we're going to do it different. So we walked in from Don's Spook. We took us 24 hours to walk into the AO.
Well, the after action reports from the 4-Corps Mike Force and all the individual teams is really pretty poor. There's no consistency. I have Snake Man 2, Snake Man 3, Snake Man 5. That suggests there's a number 4 and a number 1 out there somewhere that I don't have.
Yeah.
Well, I never knew that they was even named.
Come on, Michael. Remember Delta Falcons and Mal Hombre?
Well, yeah, I remember that Delta Falcon shit.
Who's iPad 2 over here?
Tom Morgan, how you doing, guys?
Oh yeah, there you are. My memory is not too good, even on a short term.
Okay, Steve, I'm going to go ahead and leave the Zoom. I wanted to thank you for putting this all together. Max, say hi to Diane, and hopefully we'll see you next month. You guys take care. Be safe.
You too. Okay, take care. Mackenzie, get a pen in your hand. I'll give you my phone number. Area code 210-860-1557. That's my cell phone. Got it? Okay. Hey, baby, come here. Hey, Michael.
I'm here.
There you go.
Hi, Michael.
Hi there, kiddo.
I
How
can't hear
doing?
you. He's
Hit the-
holding the, how do you do that?
I know.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, hang up on. I can't hear you.
You can't.
You can't.
Yeah. It's in Don's ears and he won't give them.
I know. I'm the same way. He can hear me, but you can't.
She can hear you now.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear now?
One more time.
Put it in your ear.
Yeah, I did. I got
Oh.
it now.
All right. Hi there, you good looking girl.
Well, hi. Thank you very much.
All right. It's good seeing you.
It's good to see you too. I've got a project that Barbara gave me that I need to send over to you and Michael.
Okay, what is it?
It's
You'll see it when you get it, goddammit.
Oh, okay.
So it was a project that she was working on and I offered to help and I finally got it done. So I'm going to send it over to you.
All right, good.
So you've
Okay.
been on my mind a lot.
Yeah, she has too.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Okay, Don wants the phone back.
all right. I love you, girl.
I love you too. Take care. Thanks for all you guys being here.
You bet. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kept the other hearing aids. So you knew exactly what we were talking about, didn't you?
You might tell her about starch sheets.
See you later.
All right. Okay, Don. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
So we'll catch you later. Let me know when
Okay.
you're coming. All right.
Yeah, like I say, hell, I I got, hell, diesel now is what, 390.
You got money, honey.
John, who was John? What's your last name there? John from 402.
Yes.
John Jackson.
Say again?
What's your last name?
British.
Okay, very good. Who the hell was I talking to the other day? I gave me your phone number. Did anybody call you up recently?
Yes. Yeah, you called me up.
I called you up, but did somebody else call you up?
No.
Somebody said, the only person I really would want to talk to from Vietnam was John Burdish, and he was killed in Vietnam. I said, hell no. I talked to him last week.
No. Now, my only problem is that I don't remember anything.
That's why I'm here. I'm the institutional memory. But it's not even me. My memory doesn't even remind me what my name is in the morning. Don puts his wife puts his name in all his clothes, so he knows that. But I have a computer over here that remembers everything. And that's pretty good. So we're starting here at A402 now on the second session for today. So what we should do is, I think we should start out chronologically, but my notes say that 402 started out to be a mobile guerrilla force.
Yeah, 402 and 403 were together at Chau.
Yeah, but one of them was there before, and that 402 was there before, and it was actually 431 or 430 rather, which was before Tommy Daniels' time. It was a guy named Dan Hendricks, I guess.
Yeah, Hendricks was the team leader.
Okay, so that was an early moment in that history. So really, that of all the people over here, it looks like you're the earliest. Tommy would come next. Who's Keenan?
Was
Is Keenan a last name or first name?
Ronald Simpson. He was on either 402 or 403. I can't remember because we were all together.
Yeah.
You remember John Burtis?
No, I only remember one team being there.
No, we had two teams. And Al, you remember Al Perez?
Nope.
Jack Gotsey?
Yeah, I remember Jack Godsey very well.
And Oshner was a lieutenant. Randy Sassani?
No, like I say, my memory is just, I don't even remember the name of the team sergeant that I carried out to the helicopter that when we were at Nui Chai, or Nui Chai on the back side, and took them to Rockjaw, and they operated on them. The Navy surgeon there operated on them on the dining room table.
Was that Glenn Lane?
Who?
Okay.
Glenn Lane?
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, I saw him in last November, and he was looking good as always.
Yeah.
The guy was wearing his dress green uniform, fitted perfectly, hadn't changed a bit. But I've been trying to reach him for these Zoom sessions, and I've had no success whatsoever. I haven't seen any notice. Look, Tommy.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer the telephone here. Why don't you keep the conversation going for a little bit?
All right, when y'all are naming names, you, Blue, you're talking about when 4, 2, and 3 were both at Chau together?
Right, before we moved up to Moc Hoa. We moved up to Moc Hoa after 10, right?
Well, kind of during Tet, because we did that first Snake Man from Moc Hoa.
Okay.
Yeah, see, when I was there, we were in Chau the whole time,
Yeah.
67.
Well, I didn't regret leaving Chau at all, although physically I was only out there for a few days and I had orders to get the camp moved and I went back to C team to coordinate that stuff. But I flew into that thing and I was scared.
If you flew in on a caribou with your legs hanging off the ramp, you hit the leaves of the tree at the mountain.
No, I'm talking about the way the camp was situated down in a bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, who decided to build it that way?
God only knows.
You remember the E&E, if the camp was getting overrun, we would walk out into the China Sea and wade our way over to Hachien.
Yeah.
Yeah, the berm was only about 2 or 3 feet high. And at any rate, a while ago, y'all were dropping names about who was there. I didn't hear Kittleson's name drop.
Yeah, Pappy Kittleston was the team sergeant.
He was the team sergeant. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, good man, good man. So,
Yeah, some of the names, when people bring them up, then it helps my memory a bit. But yeah, I just, for some reason, I've got a lot of good memories, but it just seems to have gone somewhere.
Don't feel like the Lone Ranger. Hey, Jay, this is Richard.
Richard, how are you?
You still have the IROC?
No, I don't. I traded that a long time ago and had a Corvette.
Yeah.
And I had the Corvette for, gosh, 25 years. And just got so old and stuff that I had a hard time getting in and out of it and taking care of it like I should and this and that. So I finally sold it. It broke my heart for sure. And, you know, I probably never get over it, but, you know.
So you remember picking me up when I was hitchhiking and give me a ride in the IROC? I guess we were both in the 7th at that time.
Yeah. No, but you know, I kind of remember the car. You know, God, I've used that car to death. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see you again.
Well, thank you, sir, and you're looking very well yourself. And you know.
Later.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised when Steve Sherman called and, you know, said that he was putting this thing together here. So, you know, all the fellas that I remember, you know, well, some of the names that he sent out, you know, didn't include guys like Ron Simpson. Do you remember Ron Simpson?
Well, in fact, I do. I spoke with Ron about, don't hold me to this, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Okay. Well, now I'm not real sure if he's still alive. So,
No, he's not.
I'm sorry to hear that.
He's not. Well, and Eugene Judd. How about that? How about that name?
I haven't
Master
heard from
Sergeant.
No.
He was the last team sergeant at A-432 when I was going out of there.
Well, before I got hit the second time, John Jackson was the acting team sergeant.
Well, now John Jackson, yes, he was there when I first got there.
Yeah.
And he was there, and John Southworth was the commander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's recently passed away, unfortunately. He was just a fine man.
I see Doug Doty just joined us.
Is that right?
Doug was on the team. In fact, I knew Doug before I got to the 5th. and then we caught up again on 402. How you doing, Doug?
I am very blessed, bud, and wonderful to see you.
Yeah, you too.
My goodness, look at that fella. Look at that
Okay, I
fella.
got a picture of you and me, and you didn't have facial hair at that time, but I can tell
Yeah.
it's you.
I'll tell you what, Doug, that is one of my fondest and favorite pictures.
I got a
Sorry.
picture. Sorry.
I got a scrapbook I was looking through the other night, and I got a couple of Rich and I and Sergeant Simpson and Rich and I, after we got booted out of the Nalbang Woods for about
Oh,
the
my.
20th time trying to get in there. And
Mhm.
yeah, it was, yeah, it was a magnificent time to grow up.
Yeah, I got one of Doug, you and me on the just off the Vinjai Canal when they sent us up there for a quote R&R in country.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was the, I think that was the day I was talking to Rance about when he called me when we got sold down the river because we were supposed to go in as a blocking force 5 clicks away, and they dumped Rance and his guys, Chau, and they dumped them right on top of an NVA battalion.
Yeah.
And then you and I went in over on the other canal, and we had to call in the gunship on us just to get out of there. And that's when I'll let Tom Watson tell you, that's when he had that American that was running that battalion for the NVA. He
Yep.
had him in his sights, and CIA came up and wouldn't let him shoot it
Mm.
and pulled him out. He was so mad.
Yeah, I recall that. We went in
Yeah.
at what, about 02-300 with the rest of the team because you guys had gotten shot up so bad. We spent the morning.
The things you do when you're a puppy.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Why was he calling the agency for permission to shoot this guy?
He was not. He just, it came up because it became a big operation that it wasn't supposed to be. He was just on the radio and said, I got him. There's an American here. I got him. And this voice came up. I think it was called White Elephant, something like that, and said something, and I don't remember all, but don't take the shot because, and made us look it up in our CEOI, and that's who it was. And he got extracted, and they were waiting on him back on the helipad in front of our camp, and took him to, I think, Saigon for 3 days. And when he came back, he never talked about it, but I went and visited him at his farm in Cedar Rapids, and he told me the story of what had gone on. So yeah, it was quite a day, Rich, quite a day.
It was. I recall having to get in the canal with some of the troops when we had a gunship coming straight down at us, and the troops started to panic. And all I could think to myself was, I hope that pilot was number one in his shooting school, because we were but 10, 15 feet away from what was left of that battalion. Anyway, so, sorry, Steve, you're muted for the moment.
I put up a map here. I don't have the other map sheet for the 1/50s. So you see that 405 is somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But these are the coordinates that are given on the monthly reports. And I really don't understand where things were in that area. This portion right here is where the canal or the river breaks. The Hatien is really on the other side. But somehow Chau and Hatien seem to get the name is used for everything in this area indiscriminately, and I really don't know who is who. This camp over here seems to be 442, which came out of Fuquoc probably about 1968. Now, Hatian, I'm showing over here or possibly over here. This is where the break is in land.
Yeah, Hatien was on the other side of the canal. In fact, to go from Chau, you take the road in, and there was a ferry to go over to where Hatien was.
Okay.
And Hatien sat right on the edges of the South China Sea.
Okay, but what about the Chau as you know it? Was it
Chau was right
was
where it says it was. Right there at that little airfield. That was
Little
Chau
airfield
in
between two
67.
hills. Yeah.
Okay. See, that says Hatien South on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 442 seemed to move there when Chau moved on up to Canton.
Yeah, I think 405 or whatever it was in Hatien. There was an A-team in Hatien.
Right.
And they were in some kind of old French
villa. Almost looked like a damn villa from wherever.
Yeah.
But it was on this. It was on the same side of the canal. It wasn't on.
No.
The,
No. You had to
other
take
side
a
of the
ferry.
canal, the other side of the city or the town of
Yeah.
Hatien.
And it was up on a hill.
Yep.
Above the town, and it looked almost like a villa.
Yeah. And of course, it was sort of like a villa. I don't ever remember hearing about them in contact.
I talk.
Hey, Randy.
Hey, there you are.
It's like Chinese to me. I don't know how to work this shit. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can
Loud
hear
and
me?
clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Randy,
Yeah.
I was trying to. So I must have been on 403 when we were together. 402 and 403.
Who's that?
Don Blue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got when I first got to Chau, I really didn't know what team I was on. Probably no one did. But when we went to Moc Hoa, I ended up on 402, but I think I was on 403 at Chau.
Yeah, because I was talking to Burdish because Simpson. It was Simpson, Gotzi, Alcaraz, and Quick.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a 1/250,000 map, which is a lot less detailed, but at least it has other things in it. And okay, so the TDY team at Hatien was way over here.
Yep, right on top of that mountain or that high ground right there.
Right, but now it's also listed in some places here, and in one other instance is over here.
Yeah, in 67 they were up here in that villa or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we were down further down the coast there where that airfield that was
right in the valley.
Hills or whatever you want to call it.
That to me is a famous picture. Tell you. But,
Yeah, you can't quite see it on this map, I don't think.
Burdish.
Yeah.
You remember Willie Stark?
The name sounds familiar, but I don't remember him. No.
He was a weapons man there at Chau, but like Randy had said, we were all mixed together.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell to this day whether I was on 402 or 403.
Yeah, the only team I remember was 402.
Well, when you were there, that's all there was. You were there early.
Yeah, and that's what my orders said. Probably the thing I remember most about 402 was when we were playing pinochle and that damn scorpion or centipede decided to come over and get a hold of my toe. And they ended up medevacing me for a damn centipede.
I remember that, John.
Yeah. And I think they kept the centipede for me because I think we had a come to Jesus meeting with that damn centipede when I came back.
John, you're down in Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody told me that.
Yeah, I retired out of CENTCOM in '97. I ended up going to PA school and became a warrant. Went off the books for 13 and a half years. Got my commission and ended up retiring as a lieutenant colonel. I mean, if that ain't weird.
I last saw you at Low Paris with the 46 Company.
Yeah.
In fact, you were talking about going to PA school then.
Yep. Well, I'd been accepted for PA school when Mrs. A called me up and said, John, I can send you back to Thailand if you want. And I said, yes, ma'am. Let me pack up my goods.
Hey, Doug,
Sir,
when did you retire?
I retired in '91 after 26 years. I'm trying to show it here. You all see it. If you recognize our tap sign there.
And what'd you get out as?
I retired as a major. I went back to C Company 7th after Vietnam, and then I was selected for the old 6-month infantry OCS down at Fort Benning. And I went to the 101st when we were still on jump status. And then I got selected to go back to Special Force Detachment Airborne Europe for 3 more years in Bad Tools. And then back to the 101st, I was a company commander there, and then the commandant of the Air Assault School, and then went into my secondary, which is counterintelligence.
Good, good.
All right, let me go around here and get everybody to give me a 2-minute background of post-Vietnam history.
Okay.
So let's do it somewhat chronologically. Let's just go. Randy, 2 minutes.
Say again?
2-minute history after A-402.
What I did?
Yes.
I went to the 46 Company.
Okay.
And then I spent a year there, and then I went back to Vietnam to the 2 Corps Mike Force. Then after a year, I went back to Thailand. And then I tried to go back to Vietnam, but the Army said no. So I stayed in Thailand for a couple of years. Then I went, well, to brag. I worked in the G3 for 2 years. I didn't like that. Then I went to JCRC. And then I went to the 2nd Division in Korea. And then to the 82nd. And then where did I go? I went to the 101st. And then I went to the 2nd Division in Korea. And then I spent 2 years in Minnesota as an advisor to 49th Infantry Reserve. That was sort of interesting, but I didn't like it. But then I made Sergeant Major, and I went back to the 101st to G3. I moved a lot.
All right. Jay Keenan.
Yes, sir. After 402, I got out of the Army and moved back to Virginia. I started going to school almost immediately after I got out of the Army, and went to school for 2 years. And while I was doing all that, I had retaught myself how to play drums, so I started playing in bands again. And so I did that and went back to school. I finally graduated from James Madison University in 1980 and got a job with the Department of the Army working in the morale, welfare and recreation program. And so I was the assistant director of the music center at Fort Lee for 8 years. And then since then, I've actually been working at a nightclub in Petersburg, Virginia, and I did that for 19 years. And it was a place called the Coppermine Cafe. And it was just a wide open rock and roll nightclub. And so I retired from that after I started having heart problems and this and that. So anyway, I'm just retired and trying to take life easy and trying to do right by everybody. And so that's pretty much it. Not a lot to tell.
Tom, my again?
Yes. I left in December of 70, not 70, excuse me, 69. And went to the 8th and then in Panama and then to the 10th at Fort Evans. And I got out and went to, or I went to get out of the active army, went to the 11th in reserve and was there till 79. Took a little trip, a little short break in the IRR and went back to an infantry training regiment in 85 and retired in 95. And I'm a tool maker and I've been just retired a couple of years ago. Cooling heels, doing the best that I can.
John Burdish, you want to add to what you said before?
Well, I went from 402 up to B52, the Project Delta. And I was there for a little over a year and a half and went to 46th Company, went back to the 10th, went to 46th Company again, went back to Bragg, went to PA school, spent 3 years in Germany as a battalion surgeon, came back, went through flight school, flight surgeon, and got a telephone call one day and said, "We want you to go to work for us." I said, "Okay." Said, "Well, let your hair grow long and start a beard." And I told him, I said, "I don't think my battalion commander is going to be real happy about that." And they called up, and so then they said, "Drive up to Virginia." And I met him. I stayed there for 13 and a half years. And when I left, I came down to CENTCOM here in Tampa as the in the command surgeon's office. And I retired with 34 and a half years.
Wow.
In 97. And I retired. I just said, that's it. We had saved some money, bought the house outright, and here we are.
Tommy.
Yeah. I was a captain when I got out and in Chinese Mandarin language school. I had orders for the 1st in Okinawa. But then the rift caught me and I got out in April of 72, came back to my hometown and became a policeman while I did my undergraduate degree. And after that, I became a builder. Did that for about 8 to 10 years until the interest rate prime got up to 18%. And I changed businesses and got in the property and casualty insurance business with my family. And that was a good decision. I sold that and then started skydiving again with Mike Bland up in Asheboro, North Carolina. And then we moved over to, we lost the lease on the airport. Mike took his airplanes and moved to Texas. He's sometimes known by Gene Bland instead of Mike Bland. So my wife and I, we moved over to the Asheville area, and there I became a headhunter, and I had that business for 10 years. And by that time I was going to Cambodia, spending time there, helping the mountain yards up in the northeast frontier area. It would be shit on big time. So I did that, stuck with that NGO thing in Cambodia for 20 years. And then finally got one of the other directors to take over the management here about 3 years ago. So I've been retired from that again. So now all I do is go to doctor's appointments.
Robert Jackson.
Yes, sir. How you doing, teammates? Well, I got wounded in December 68, Nui Kota. And after I got out the hospital, they sent me to DLI in Monterey. And I was there for about 4 or 5 months. I got out the Army to finish college because I got drafted out of college. And after I got my degree, I got domesticated and joined the Navy. And I spent 30 years in the Navy and retired.
We have people with gluttons for punishment. We had the last session, we had Ed Duclos, who went off to become a Navy SEAL after he left SF.
Oh, yeah. They wanted me to be a SEAL. I said, I'm smarter now.
Richard?
Well, I left 402 on 11 April 1970. That was the day I got hit the second time in 12 days, but that one blasted apart my right arm. Like Jackson, I spent about 5 months in various hospitals, and the Army put me out to pasture in November of 70, because at that point I couldn't use my right arm at all. And so I went back to college at the University of Miami in Florida, in law school there. Practiced law for 35 years, had my own firm for 28 years. Fortunately, I had a lot of success, met my wife while I was in law school, and we just celebrated in past May 48 years together. Both our boys have served, my older one in Afghanistan, the younger one in Iraq. Got to pin my wings on both of them in turn. Then I retired from practicing law in 2010, moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and for about 8, 9, 10 years, I ran search and rescue missions in the mountains up here. The first 4 years with a pack on my back. And I guess I got that out of my system after a while. And then I was an incident commander for about 7 years and 100+ missions. And I retired from it in 21. And now, like somebody just said, I visit lots of doctors and otherwise keep my heels cooled.
Robert Dees, you went to hiding here.
I'm sorry, what? Doug?
Oh, I still have that picture you sent me of you in the hospital in Japan, plaster from shoulder to wrist with that rod holding your arm up.
For the guys that don't know it, I was in a shoulder spica. The worst possible thing you have is from just above your crotch, it comes over one shoulder. You can't walk, you got to waddle. And I flew back to the States on a 141 on my back. And just a side story, guys, sorry. I got to Walter Reed, where they sent me to Ward 34, which is the ortho ward. I begged them to cut it off, and they did. And the first thing I begged for was a shower, because I hadn't had a bath since, 3 weeks before I got hit. It felt good. In fact, Doug, you and I were on Nui Baquet.
Yes.
I first got hit.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that one distinctly. Anyway.
That's right. That's where I got hit the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve, that's my 2 minutes.
Well, Robert Dees has run away, so we won't get him in here. unless he shows back up. All right, Tommy, when this camp started out, there was only one A team at Chau, and it was really a mobile guerrilla force at that point, just changing over.
Yeah, that's what, when I was there, it was a mobile guerrilla force.
Tommy, did you see a transition from that?
Well, actually in Teta 68, I think that was the last operation that the C team was calling mobile guerrilla force operation. And that was the first Snake Man. And there was a lot of material and stuff coming down between Kai and BTT on that Song Trang Canal River. And we got a mission to go in there and stop it.
Hello?
So we had Blue was on that, Simpson was on that, Nutella. Who else?
Oh, hi, Tony.
And that was my first Mike Force operation.
Vietnam. So,
But
yeah, talk to you later. Bye.
we managed to stop all the traffic and didn't lose a man. Ran it for 30 days, and it was so successful. And you know how successful operations get; they got to keep running them. But and then the second Snake Man operation that was run, Kenzie, Simpson, Blue Dollar, Vigil.
All right, is that you? Just spelled wrong?
Uh,
Is that your serial number?
yeah. That's
Okay.
but the name is wrong, first name.
Okay.
Yeah. What is that an after action report?
For Snake Man 2-68, but I think you're right. It's actually Snake Man 1.
Yeah. And then C team decided to run another one, and those guys got their ass kicked really bad.
The Snake Man 2 was this one out of Don Fook.
Yeah. Now I didn't write the Snake Man 1 up after action report, because by that time I'd been medevac.
Yeah. Well, Mackenzie was on that, and he was on our earlier session. He couldn't speak there for some reason. The microphone wasn't working. He said he was going to come back, but he's not been here.
Yeah. But yeah, can you email that to me, please?
Okay, remind me when this week is over.
Okay.
The week is getting a little crazy.
Yeah. But that was A-431 from Don Fook that went out there to pick up the pieces from the Snake Man 2 operation.
Well, that was Snake Man 2. Snake Man 1 is the one you wanted the information on.
The first one is the only one I was personally involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, send me both of them if you would.
Okay.
I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Whoops. Where'd it go?
And we had the same thing in 67 when they sent us down there at a junction, a Y on a canal.
Where?
In the UMN or someplace down in there.
Yeah.
And that's when we had the lieutenant drop the hand grenade. He lost his arm or his hand in that. Had the Navy, a regular medevac wouldn't come in because of all the firing going on. And one of the Navy Seahawks gunships came in and picked him up and medevaced him.
Are you seeing this on Blackjack 42 on the screen?
Yeah.
Does that look like what you're talking about? July 7?
You're going to have to go down a little bit.
All right. We're
Yeah.
talking about from Chau.
Yeah.
Task Force.
I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah, we were there. It was, we did typically 30-day operations except for when it was in the Three Sisters mountains. But yep, we went in on Papa boats or whatever from a Navy ship.
From LST Garrett, Garrett County.
That's how we went in.
There was a 42 Alpha, Blackjack 42 Alpha. We climbed Nui Koto at night.
Yep.
Yeah, John,
I remember climbing Nui Koto at night, believe me.
yeah, I remember you being there.
It rained like hell.
Didn't find that one.
I think that wasn't that the first time supposedly that any U.S. forces had ever made it to the top?
Yeah, I think so. We didn't stay up there long, just 3 or 4 days. Then we,
you know, all those mobile guerrilla operations, I don't know who coined that term, but as we all know, they were, by technical Army definition, they were long-range combat patrols.
Oh, yeah.
And there wasn't any guerrilla into it, you know, other than we did have to hide sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one I remember was when we overran the, I can't remember what they called it, Viet Cong NVA R&R type place. We'd been out there for a while and came across this, and they had a pretty nice, they had volleyball courts and all sorts of kind of stuff there. And got them enough clay pots, them big 30, 40, 50 gallon clay pots. And
I saw Simpson's name on that one roster there. The last I heard from Simpson or about Simpson was from a mutual friend. He left his wife and took up with a 20-year-old drug addict, female. And his health was not too good. So sometimes I think he might be dead.
Yeah, he is.
Huh?
Yes, he is.
Simpson is dead?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, his health was not good. We had a mini reunion, about 10 years ago now, and he was on oxygen. And yeah, I didn't look too good. Neither did Andy. He died too.
Yeah, that was about 2 or 3 years ago. I went up for his funeral.
Yeah. Andy would always like to say that I took him out on his first operation.
Ronald Simpson died. Actually, he died in 2020, not that long ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this was 10 years ago. We had that mini reunion, and he didn't look too good then.
Randy, if you took Alexander out on his first, he took me out on my first when I joined 402.
Do what now?
You said that you took Alexander out on his first mission.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
He broke my cherry when I got to 402.
That. And the other thing, our troops had killed the VC that attacked us, and they felt he was so brave that when we killed him, they ate his liver. See, and Andy would always say, "If you don't believe me, ask Randy." Yeah.
Yeah. Look, for your information, I have 2 websites. I have a lot of websites, but one of them is called specialforcesphotos.com. And the reason I set up the other website, that website, is so you go up there and sign in with your whole name. You know, John, middle initial, Burdish. If you don't do that, I don't know who you are, and I get 5 or 10 bots every day. I throw anybody's name out that I don't recognize. But if once you're there and I see your name, I approve you. Once you're approved, you can upload your own pictures. I've got folders for albums for every camp in Vietnam.
Good.
And you can put captions in there, and then somebody coming along who's also approved sees your caption and says, I'm the third guy from the left. He can add that to it. If you have any problem using the site, once you're approved, get a hold of me and I'll walk you through it.
I wish I did have photos. The only photo I had for years was one of, who was it? The rifleman holding that damn boa constrictor that we had when he visited. We had Maggie come in once.
Mhm.
Yeah, the other one, interesting one about the when the team sergeant got shot, and you guys mentioned his name and I already forgot it, was the same operation that the Nha Trang Mike Force made their historic combat jump. They jumped into behind us, out well away from anybody shooting at them. And everybody that participated got their star on their wings.
No, they didn't.
They didn't?
That sounds like Nha Trang.
But they never got the star?
No, the rules were it had to be a U.S. combat operation.
Okay.
Primarily U.S. Arguments going on about all of the jumps that were done in Vietnam.
Yeah,
we're still fighting about it.
well, I'm glad they didn't, because that was about as close to a combat jump. If you look at the jumps the guys made during World War II and that.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I work for Blue Max, Ludwig Feistenheimer up in Pleiku, and he wanted to have the last combat jump in history. So they were going to open up Wu Prang and jump into that. He had me make up flyers to tell everybody he was coming, just so they'd go shoot at him. It was a Hollywood jump. Nothing happened. Nothing at all happened.
Steve, what was the name of that website for photos?
SpecialForcesPhotos.com.
Okay.
And you can remember that because I have SpecialForcesBooks.com. I don't have a lot of imagination when naming websites. But don't make a mistake. If you go to Special Forces, if you go to sfbooks.com, you're going to end up in a gay bookstore in San Francisco. So spell it out. Special Forces Books.
For the warning.
What can I tell you guys?
Hey, John.
Yeah.
You remember that operation we went on called Lucky Leaf to try to rescue Roe?
Yes.
You know, there's only about 2 or 3 of us left alive
Yeah, I know.
from the 12 of us.
Yeah, that was
Morin is in the Philippines.
is that right?
Yeah, but I think all the rest of them are dead.
Well, we're getting that age.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, now that you mentioned it, we got there and the camp was empty.
Well, we didn't find the camp.
Oh,
We went to the spot where we thought the camp was.
okay, yeah.
You know, Bert Kettleton talks about it in his book, Raider.
Yeah.
And Kettleton had called me a couple of times, and then he called me to tell me the book had come out. So I went and got the book, and I was anxious to read about it. It was so different. You know, like we went in at night. In the book, it's daytime.
Yeah.
It's A-502, not A-402 or 3. It was 1 helicopter. We went in on 2 helicopters. There's just so many things wrong with the thing. And so after Kettleton passed away, I emailed the writer And he said that's exactly how Kittleson told him. I said, I don't understand that at all because, you know, I had talked to Kittleson a couple of times. I felt his mind was sharp, but it was, I don't know if you ever read it. It's called, the book is called Raider, but it's so different from what I experienced. Because we went in just before midnight, I think.
I can't remember. You know, all I remember was we were supposed to rescue Roe.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it.
Well, that one Auburn soldier that had been a POW, he became a trustee and escaped, and he let us back in.
Yeah.
And I remember what the team of Hendricks, right? Yeah. The Auburn asked for a rifle, a weapon. So we thought about it, and Hendricks says, all right, I'll give him an M1 carbine with the short magazine. And he told him, he says, only if we come under contact should you chamber around. And then after the Auburn left, Kittleson, Hendricks told us, if he ever loads that weapon, kill him instantly. Because we were afraid he was a turncoat, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was funny.
No,
Rich, I remember on Nui Jai, when we were up there just before we ran over the ridge to the pagoda complex, I remember taking out my wallet and giving it to you and telling you to get it to my dad because I was sure my ass was had when I ran over that ridge. And then they started radioing us, oh, don't do any damage to the pagoda side and all that stuff. Remember that?
Well, I do. And the other thing I recall is two things. Early on, we came under fire.
Yes.
And I got up on a little high point, was able to call in a gun strike. And the pilot said, I said, look, it's got it's not a Nazi symbol, but it looks like it. He goes, well, that's a religious house. And I go, well, it may be, but they're preaching a machine gun fire and AK-47 from there. And he took it out. And then you and I came around to almost to the very top. And we were in some terraced garden type things. And we get down and they're shooting over our heads. And all of a sudden this whoosh goes over. And then I hear Doug tell me, oh shit, that's a B-40. We better eliminate them right now.
Yeah. And they fired a recoilless at us. When we first came over, they fired a recoilless down on us. And then they started dropping B-40s. And headquarters is saying, don't do any damage. You know, it's a national site. And they were blasting the crap. And God bless him, Captain Cook was swinging in his hammock down at the base of the mountain, telling us, okay, now deploy carefully and move here and go there, all that stuff. I almost got court-martialed for that response.
Well, two responses that I remember very clearly from Doug. We were out somewhere in the Yumin forest, and we picked up some contact that night, and Doug had gone out and left me with the 60 mortar to make a response to the NVA. And so I'm setting out the illums, and just as about the last illum expires, the bug ship shows up, and Doug gives directions to the pilot, and we had a captain with us. It wasn't Cook, it was somebody else. And he says, oh, no, to the pilot. No, you drop the illum where I want, about 200 yards back. And Doug gets on the radio and says to the pilot, you drop where I want them or I'll shoot your ass down. Yeah.
Well, when you're a puppy, you think nothing can happen to you and nobody knows better than you do.
Yeah. One more, guys, I gotta go, but one more Cook story if I can. We were out somewhere in the middle of nowhere and we had put everybody down at an RON, and we picked up some movement on the outside of the perimeter, and the troops opened up fire, and it was either Jackson or Doug or somebody or Simpson trying to get the troops to calm down because we weren't getting any return fire. And there's Cook on the radio trying to call in an AC-130 gunship, Pup the Magic Dragon. And finally, they took the handset away from him. And candidly, guys, that was the last time I saw him on the A-team.
Yeah. Yeah.
When was this?
It was, had to be in early 70. I got to the team
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
January.
I just want to know, Captain Titsworth was before him.
Yep,
Then-
Captain Titsworth was there when I got there, and then
Okay.
Captain Cook followed him. Huge change, huge. I mean,
Yeah, I
you
know.
know, like so often would happen. Huge
Yeah.
change from a leader to a guy who was
Yeah.
just.
He
in
was
the
really useless. He was really useless.
Useless would have been an upgrade for him.
Yeah,
My understanding is he went back to Canto, and he was the S3. Made him an S3 for a little bit, and then he fucked that up, and then I think he went back on a train.
Did you ever read his resume?
No.
no,
The one he started propagating when he went
Yeah.
home back to New Orleans or wherever it was and got in the Special Forces unit down there. But it's quite interesting. Henry, as you know, parachuted behind enemy lines many times. You know, it was shot 3 or 4 times. But of course, I got in country after Henry was already there. And that was November of '67. And in Teta 68, the C team got hit. And he jumped off a Connex. He was back there in the S4 area. And he jumped off a Connex and broke his leg, his ankle. Well, he got a Purple Heart for that. And while he was in the hospital, the VC attacked it and he got shot while he was in the hospital bed. He got another Purple Heart for that. And then he comes back down to Canto. And then he left country, and then I was medevac later. And I came back in January '69, you know, for all the Nui Kodo stuff, which went on for about 6 to 8 months, I guess. And Henry came back right after we went into Nabang. And I got shot 3 times there, medevac. Melvin Marsh was shot 3 times. He was medevac, and he recently, a couple of years ago, got the Medal of Honor for that. And Cook came in and replaced me when the operation moved from Nabang. After we got Nabang, the operation moved over to Little Nuijai. And but anyhow, I've heard all the stories about him back in camp at Canto, you know.
he was an expert and he took great pride in cooking up some exotic meals with his sea rations, with sauces and stuff. He was just, and he bragged about it, and it was interesting. Hey, Jay, do you remember going out on the river boats?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. And I remember one little excursion we took, and we stopped. Not sure where it was, but it was upriver, and we were taking a break while I guess we were getting refueled or something like that. But we went into this place, you know, where you could have a beer, and I guess they had some girls and stuff there too. But we were sitting in this room and, you know, having a beer, and all of a sudden this girl comes in, and, you know, she's got a big set of hooters and this and that, and she's walking around the room, you know, doing this and that. Well, Simpson was there, and he took a fancy to this girl, you know, and we'd all had a few drinks and this and that, and so he decided that he wanted to have something to do with the girl. So he you know, starts all this, you know, you're really looking good and all this stuff, and so he went over and was trying to, you know, to talk her into something. And she says, no, she said, have baby. And that didn't sink in with him, you know. So, you know, he's just pawing at her and fooling with her. And she says, no, have baby. He says, Mom, what are you talking about? And she stood back and pulled up her shirt and pulled out one of them big hooters and squirted Ron in the face with breast milk. And I mean, yeah, and she kept, it was coming out in a stream, and as it was coming out, hitting him in the face, he was backing off. And that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I remember the airboats.
I remember we had to watch the troops because they take the concussion grenades and throw them in the river
Go fishing.
because they'd go down the bottom and blow, and then they'd get all the big fish. You know,
Yes, sir.
it'd kill all, but it wouldn't shred them because there was no shrapnel, and they would fish. And then the other thing, them little devil, they'd take the C4 out of the claymores and use it to cook their food with, because we had those PRU rations, long tuber rice and the meat supplement and the raisins. You'd hang them around your neck and keep going, but you always had to check your claymores because they take the back off and they take out the C4 and use it to heat their food.
Doug, do you remember the time we were somewhere out again in the middle of nowhere near some village, and one of the lieutenants we had on the team went into the village, got himself drunk, and got himself tattooed across the forehead?
Oh my God.
The
one I remember the most is we were near some village, and it was just before Sergeant Judd came in, took Sergeant Jackson's place. And some of the strikers had gone into the village and got beer and wouldn't pay for it. So we were in formation, and the owner of the bar came out, and I thought it was Chau Kun. I think it was Chau Kun before he was killed, the head of the strike force. And they told us to stand over the side, and he lined them up, you know, and brought these three guys out in the front, and he had a bamboo cane. And he said, you know, and they were talking Cambodian, and the first guy, he hit him across the back like 10 times with his bamboo cane. And then the next guy and the third guy hit him about twice, and the guy come up and, you know, pleading with his hands and everything. And Kuhn just lost it, hitting him in his legs and everything. And I remember Kuhn stripped him down to his underwear and left him there. When we got on the boats the next day, he left him on the bank. Yeah. You guys, you talk about eating the liver, them guys that was a different breed of cats.
Let me step in here for a minute. You're talking about Henry Cook, who was the CO from about October of '69 to about March of 1970. Who was just before him?
Titsworth.
Titsworth.
Titsworth, yeah.
Titsworth was directly before him, because I have Titsworth leaving there. I have him from a year before, 1068 till 269. So I have.
No, he was there. I got there in August '69. He was my camp commander at that time. I don't remember a break between him and Cook. There may have been a short one, but it was him and then Cook.
Okay, but you're saying he came in August?
No, I came in August of '69. He was already there. I think he was well into his tour at that time. Okay. And we had a lieutenant from Tennessee, big fella, and because his parents sent him a tape of Rocky Top, singing Rocky Top to him, and he broke down crying in the team room when he heard it. Good guy. I can't remember his name. And then we had Lieutenant Owens, and then we had Lieutenant Hartnett when we went out rich in the airboats, and we found all those Chi-Com grenades, and we brought them back, put them on top of the bunker, and we told Lieutenant, don't mess with them grenades. Oh, I won't. And we walked away, and he threw one and got to the end of his fingers and blew off all his fingers, because I met him again on the, when we were training for the Lewis and Clark, when we jumped into Mississippi, and the team rode the Lewis and Clark, the RB-15s, and rode that again. And he was still in at that time. And then we had the lieutenant,
Owens, and who else?
Lieutenant that came in, and he was there for like 3 days, and he got shot right between the bones of his forearm. And at that time they said anyone who gets wounded is immediately taken out of country. And it broke his heart, because he wanted to be an SF lieutenant, you know, an SF on an A team so bad. and he was there like 3 days and got wounded, and they medevaced him States.
Give me the names again. I see Owens. Who else?
Owens, Hartnett was the guy that blew his fingers. That's a couple of lieutenants later.
Reagan, John Reagan, I think.
Might have been.
Reagan, I got.
Who was the interpreter that had the 6 fingers? Was that Chau?
I don't remember.
Because they got a picture of him and one of the lieutenants, kind of a chubby, blonde-headed fella. We were up on the canal holding, Rich, you remember this, holding a Communist Party flag.
Mm-hmm.
We captured up there, yeah.
Who was
But
the 3-day lieutenant?
I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. I'm old as dirt, so.
I thought Henry Cook was the XO in 67.
He may have been 67. I didn't get there, John, until August 69, and I was there till 70.
Yeah, I think he was the XO because he got tied up in the Wounded Warriors or the Poppies.
Yeah, no, the Purple Heart Society.
Yeah, and he called me up one time, and I don't know what for, and I told him, well, I don't remember anything, and hung up. In fact, this is the first time I've actually talked to anybody. I'm not.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Cook, I got there to Chau in August 67. Cook was the XO of 403.
Okay.
And he was gone within 2 or 3 months. He went up to Canto. He didn't last long after I got there.
Yeah,
Randy, was he a lieutenant at that time, Randy?
Huh?
Was he a lieutenant at that time?
Yeah.
A lieutenant,
Yeah.
yeah, he was a lieutenant.
Yeah, that fits about right because he was a captain. I think he was a new captain when he took A-402 in Rich, was it late 69, early 70 when he took it?
Late 69.
Yeah, late 69.
Late 69.
Yeah.
I was still there.
Yeah.
He was a first lieutenant in 67. I know that.
Yeah. So that's about right.
Yeah.
Because it was a second lieutenant to first lieutenant was 2 years. First lieutenant to captain was 2 years. Major was supposed to be 3 years or something like that.
1 year. 1 year.
1 year.
First lieutenant, commissioned to first lieutenant 1 year.
Well, that later it was 2
1
years.
year.
Yeah, later they made it 2 years.
Old Ron Simpson, he didn't like Cook. He talked poorly about him. He said, Cook never went to the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cook never went to the field. And the 2 or 3 months that he was there when I was there, yeah, he never went to the field.
I don't remember him ever.
That's a picture of Simpson and me and Goldstein. April 1st, 1970,
back up.
after the operation on Nui.
And I've got, Doug, I've got the same picture. And I've got,
and that this you guys will remember. This was our camp sign.
no, you got me there.
If you can see it there.
Yeah, I can see it. I don't recall
Yeah.
the sign, to be blunt with
Yeah.
you. Like a lot of guys, there's a lot of things I don't remember right now.
Yeah, I've slept since then.
Yeah.
I've had about 4 wonderful careers since then.
Yeah.
Coaching high school girls for 14 years in Texas makes a lot of your brain cells go away. Trust me, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Mr. King, you just joined us. You missed out on the opportunity to give us a little background on your post A-402 experiences.
Gosh, I can't remember. I'm sitting here trying to catch up with all that. I do remember Richard Goldstein. Hey, Rich.
Hey, Dick.
And Dodie, I sure remember you.
Thank you.
Let's see, who else? I think that's the only ones here that I know personally.
But Jay Keenan should have been on the team the same time. When did you come on the team, Richard?
Well, I had been with a recon company, and then they closed that out. I think about maybe April or May, and then of 70, and then that's when I took the recon company to then. And there was a guy named James McKay. Do you remember McKay?
No.
Oh my, yes.
He had been with me there, and he came to Moc Hoa, and then I remember him being there for about a week, and then I never saw him again. So I don't know what happened.
Rich, you were there, Rich, when the camp closed?
No.
No, I left in September, and I think it may have closed, what, in October, something like that?
Okay.
Well, guys, I was talking to Foxy Martin the other day. He gave me a call. Just a background on him after he got out. He got a degree and taught history at a small school in Minnesota for most of his life and just retired. He told me that the troops, the Cambodians we had, were moved over to the Cambodian army at some point.
Yeah.
But that was after I had left.
Yeah, when I left camp after 10 months and went to work on a special project. Remember Boone, the interpreter, he and I would go around the villages and talk to Cambodian villages who were in Vietnam and recruit them all to go to Cambodia and join the Cambodian army. It was an agency project. And then we'd fly in a couple Chinooks and take the village chief, we'd make him a colonel, and and we'd ship mama, babies, everybody on Chinooks straight to Cambodia and to join the Cambodian army. And I did that my last 2 months there. Boone, the interpreter that was so good there at Moc Hoa, was with me. It was just him and me out like absolute idiots out in the middle of nowhere and going to villages. And
well, did Boone go to Cambodia? What happened to him?
Boone was there when I left country. Boone was there when they closed the camp, but I don't know what happened to any of those guys, if they actually went or nursed there or any of those guys. I know Nin, the guy with the 6 fingers, got ambushed and killed between a couple of villages at night.
Yeah, he had another interpreter. I can't remember the other interpreter's name, but I remember Nin. They went for a motorcycle ride, and just outside the camp, not very far. And and Steve Martin and I, the medic, we were at another camp. They thought they were going to get hit, so they sent us over for a day or two to help enforce that camp. And I think he talked to someone back at Moc Hoa on the radio, and so he left at that time and came back, but there was nothing he could do,
Sending troops to Cambodia. What year are you talking about? Year and month, Doug?
1970, sir. That was a huge agency thing. And they were, you know how badly the Vietnamese Cambodians were being treated by the Vietnamese government. And we'd go in and just make a pitch to the village chief and said, just like I told you, Tommy, we'll make you a lieutenant colonel. We'll make your son a major. We'll make your village elders captains. And we would come in, load them on Chinooks. They'd fly them to an airfield, put them on 130s. And the next morning, the village was completely empty because they took
they pulled us out of the field into Canto. And we took, I don't know how many those deuce and a halves. We loaded those guys up on deuce and a halves and take them to the airfield at Chau, and they were flying them to Cambodia then. That was probably maybe December or January of '69, something like that.
I got a big article out of Stars and Stripes still that shows.
Doug, you're talking about
with us, Rich, in Cambodia, in the Cambodian army.
Look, we had this in the last session here. The argument whether it was after the 1st of June or before the 1st of June, right, of 1970. So, because the coup was on April 30th of 1970. It took them almost 2 months to get organized after the coup before anything happened. In 3 Corps, I tracked the Mike Force shipments of Khmer Sarai, and those were all in June of 1970. There was a report that said there were Mike Force people guarding government buildings on the day of the coup. That report is not true. Those were Montagnards from the Furo faction that was living in Cambodia at the time. So I have no indication that any people from the Mike forces or from Vietnam through the Mike forces went to Cambodia before June of 1970.
I worked that project from July and August of 70, Steve. So that's as much as I know.
Okay, so it's after June of 70.
Yeah, and the article I've got from Stars and Stripes, which shows some of the same guys that were at Moc Hoa that most of you guys know. There was one guy who was we called him Cowboy. They have pictures of them. That I think that's from July or August, but it was those same guys when they from the camp that we were at there at Moc Hoa in the Cambodian army.
If you have that documentation, I'd like to get a copy of it. It's just something seriously that I've been arguing about with a lot of people.
Sure, and I got probably 2 scrapbooks of pictures of Moc Hoa and Seven Mountains and those things. So if I can ever provide those, I would be happy to.
Well, please take a look at that specialforcesphotos.com thing. You've got some good photos over there. I really like to have it.
Could I say one thing, Steve? Because this has been on my heart. I am so incredibly blessed in my life, and I could not think of a braver, more skilled group of guys to have spent a year in combat with than the Mike Force at Moc Hoa. And later on, a lot of you spent a lot of time keeping me alive. So, but later on, when I became a company commander in 101st and my A-team at Bad Tolls and at the Air Assault School, you were the guys that I talked to my NCOs about. And I told a lot of my first sergeants to be like Sergeant Jackson, and a lot of my platoon sergeants to be like Sergeant Simpson. And you guys, Jay and Rich and Bob Dees and Rance Bosley, I talked to him the other day.
Oh.
To me, you are the real deal. You're what people talk about the Green Berets now, but our war was so primitive in our equipment, the way we operated. I mean, it was blunt force trauma almost every day. And I couldn't have been more blessed to be in the company of guys like you. I still hold all of you, and some of you, like John, I've heard of you. I have heard of you for many years. Some of you, although Tom Migan definitely needs a shave. Some of you, I still hold. Rich and I did some things that I have no idea how we got out of there other than God's hand. It was, wow.
Amen, brother. Amen. I agree. For me, it was a life-changing time in my life, and changed it for the better.
Yeah.
And no matter what I faced in life afterwards, I just think back to those days when we were taking one hill or another, and I say, what I'm facing now is minuscule compared to what we did then. And like you, I've been blessed.
And it bothered me the rest of my career in the peacetime army because they didn't want to hear about Vietnam because the Russians were going to come through the Fulda Gap and all of that crap. And they didn't want to hear about mobile strike force. That's old school. And I'm thinking, man, you don't know what these guys did by the skin of their teeth. I mean, on the ground, making decisions, life and death decisions on a moment's notice. And now all you care about is tanks and stuff. And it always bothered me when I'd get a commander or a senior officer who had never been there, had no idea of what like Randy and John and you got and Tommy had done. And, you know, that bothered me the rest of my time in the Army, guys.
Okay, can we finish up on the Mike Force thing going to Cambodia right quick?
Yeah.
Doug, you were recruiting villagers.
Yes, sir.
All right, not troops. I mean, not
Initially villages, but I know, Tommy, that when the camp closed down, I heard that they sent all the guys who were left in the camp to Cambodia. And then that's when I saw the article in Stars and Stripes, Tommy, that I've got the pictures of that, of those guys in the Cambodian army. What I was doing was entire Cambodian villages in Vietnam, recruiting them, and then we send them, Chinook to an airfield and send them over to bolster the Cambodian army.
Yeah. Okay. I left Vietnam in December '69, and I understood that the Mike Force troops in B-40 and B-36 Long Hai, all the Cambodians, were sent to Cambodia early in '70.
No,
May have been.
After June 1st of '70, nothing before.
Okay.
May have been in late May, but there was nothing before that. And Tommy,
I'm leading up to,
didn't they take them from the camps to a training site to organize them like in a Cambodian battalion, but they didn't go to Cambodia. I think Stephen's exactly right, till after May, if I remember right, when they actually went into country.
Yeah, the training part of it was totally different. That was training Cambodians in Vietnam, and that was not the Mike Force. Tommy, what were you going to say?
All right, and then you had the FANC program at Chi Lang and a couple other places that were training Cambodians from Cambodia to go back and fight in the Lon Nol Army.
That's after November of 1970.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one of the points I wanted to make to you guys is when I started working in Cambodia in 1999, when I first got there, I met with a lot of old guys in the Army, generals and so forth, and they all raved about the Mike Force, how great they were. But Lon Nol didn't give a shit about them. They were just cannon fodder to him, and they were thrown into the roughest battles, and very few survived. I met a few that did survive, that had been like in B-36 Long Hai. One of them was who's that? The CMH guy that got the CMH in Korea and was a lieutenant colonel in Vietnam. But anyhow, he was his interpreter.
That was Ole Mize.
Yeah, Ole Mize.
Ole Mize.
And any place I'd go, and when I was in Cambodia, I was always asking about it. But I turned up very few that survived, that had been in the Mike Force and so forth. And but they were highly praised by all the old people that remembered them in Cambodia.
And it was a shame because in Vietnam, they were looked down on by the Vietnamese. And then when they got to Cambodia, Lon Nol looked down on them as not true Cambodians and just threw them into the battle.
He threw them into the battle because they're the only ones who knew how to fight. The rest of the Cambodian army didn't know shit. All right. And the Mike Force really did well. But Tommy, the point that I was mostly concerned with was that I keep on hearing all these stories that people give me and say, oh, the CIA was part of the plot. The Columbia Eagle was all part of this big fancy thing to overthrow Sihanouk in Cambodia. As far as I'm concerned, as far as my research has gone, I'm pretty sure that Sihanouk told Lon Nol, who wouldn't take a dump without Sihanouk's permission. He told Lon Nol, I'm going to go take the cure in France. You stay here. You take over the government. You tell the Americans they can do whatever they want, and then I'll come back and take back over the government. Same thing he did with the French 20 years before.
Yeah.
And I keep on getting these stories from people who said, well, I was flying with some CIA people, and they told me all about the plan to do things in Cambodia. When I got to the MACV command histories for 1970, the deputy director for MAC Cords gave a speech in 1970 where he said, because, or in the 70 history, he says, because the unexpected events in Cambodia, we were able to do this, do that. And that's all it said. But if you happen to look in the index to find out who the deputy director of MAC Cords was at the time, his name happened to be William Colby. If anybody was surprised about something that happened in Vietnam, if William Colby was surprised about anything that happened, then it wasn't part of the CIA operations. So, and that's the concern, because there are American journalists who write authoritatively that there were special forces people in Cambodia at the time of the coup defending the public buildings, and they were not. I've checked that out. They were Furo.
Yeah, well, you know, there was a match team of Americans in Cambodia.
Yeah, that was after the coup. They were very much restricted. That was called Metsi.
Yeah, Maddox was the guy that headed that up, I think.
Well, there was a bunch of things, people there. Ultimately, what was his name? Well, there were a couple of general officers had, but they were very limited. One of our people, Captain Mendoza, was killed on his way back into Vietnam on an ash and trash mission. But that was all late stuff, and that was to supply the Cambodians with whatever they could without getting into shit.
Yeah.
But
guys, I got to break camp. But on Stephen's message that he sent out is my email. Please contact me. I would love to send you any pictures I have. John, it's wonderful to see you. God bless you. I heard about you for a long time. Same thing, Tommy. Same thing, Tommy. You're the real deal.
And, thank you very much.
Doug, the reason I have that website is for you to put up the pictures, because if I put up pictures for everybody, I'd be spending the rest of my life doing it, and I haven't got the time. I got a lot of other projects to do.
I do think we need to take up a collection and get Megan a shave, because he's out of dress code for sure. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Well, I'd like to thank Steve Sherman. You know, through the years, people wouldn't know shit about Vietnam if it wasn't for this guy and all the records he's kept and put together.
Well, I think that's very true.
Yeah, I second that.
Somebody said to me a long time ago, the heroes die when their songs go unsung. That was Pindar, a Roman poet, which is very true. But unfortunately, I tell people I don't have the voice to sing. But what I can do is I can supply material to the people who do, so that you can sing those songs, because they need to be done. We came back and we did not talk about our experiences in Vietnam to other people. And as a result, the academics took it over and distorted that history. And that's where we're all fucked up today politically. So,
like I said, it's the first time I've talked to anybody about it. I mean, hell.
On Facebook, I'm on two forums. One is vetted, the other is open to most anyone. But there's a lot of special forces guys on there from Vietnam, and most of them from the Iraq War, Afghanistan. But I go on there just about every day and see what they're saying, you know. So it's not like I just stopped. Plus, I wore the uniform for another 20 years after I retired, teaching high school ROTC. So I never left the womb.
Well, that's the only place where it really survived. But those of us who went home and got on with their civilian lives, even I went back to Vietnam, but it really was 20 years after I left Vietnam in 1968 that I got really involved with even considering the history of the Vietnam War. And now I'm doing it considerably, but
I didn't even get married till after I retired.
you have to be Bamui Lam already.
I was 45 years old when I got married. My daughter just called me, and she's 37. She just got married. She's like me.
Randy, this is one of my publications here on the NACV Saga annexes. This is the only reference I've ever seen to Lucky Leaf, but it confirms on the night of 1 October, the SF team infiltrated into the area. It remained in the area for 36 hours without finding enemy of the camp or coming in contact with hostile forces. The team was exfiltrated without incident. A post-operational interrogation of the PF soldier indicated several discrepancies in the original story. It appeared that the PW camp was actually 10 to 15 kilometers northwest of the area that had been reconnoitered by the SF team.
There's a small blurb in the Helicopter Pilots Association.
Yeah.
Talk about that. But not much, just a little bit. And I don't know if we were, well, I guess maybe about 36 hours on the ground.
Yeah, but that was in reference to your statement that Kittleson said it was a daytime operation.
What did that say?
That says on the night of October 1st, they infiltrated.
Okay, October. I knew it was the first week in October, but I really couldn't remember the date.
Yeah, but this is JPRC, or JPRC in Vietnam in their report for SOG.
Yeah, because I remember it was dark because they opened the mess hall for us in case we wanted something to eat. And some of the guys did get something to eat. And then, but it was dark when we walked out of the mess hall. I remember that. And 2 or 3 of the guys threw up. I thought that was funny. You know, the tension. Anyway. Yeah.
Well, I think, guys, I'm going to have to take off. It was nice talking to everybody.
Yeah.
All right, John.
Jay Keenan.
Are you on Facebook, John?
No, I'm not on anything.
I forgot to say hello. I didn't see your name up there when I said hello to the people.
Yeah, I'm not on Facebook or anything like that. Like I say, I'm not too big. I got 3 guys here that I was with when I went up to Project Delta, and Jerry Nelson, Dallas Chapman, and Roland Meter. And we have lunch every 3 months. But that's about the only thing I do.
You know, I ran into you in the Trong. You were on your way to wherever you were going, and I was on my way to the 2 Corps Mike Force, and we crossed paths. That would have been in '69. Yes.
Well, 69, I'd have been getting ready to leave. I spent, I don't know, Steve, you've got me in Delta for 1 year. I spent 1.5 years in Delta, and left Delta in November, December of '69. Crash Whalen was a sergeant major. He came back from a mission, and I was going to re-enlist for present duty assignment. And he told me I was not, that I was leaving country. And I ended up going to Thailand, to 46.
Oh, this would have been around August of '69.
Yeah.
But it seems you were going somewhere, either coming or going.
Well, I was in Nha Trang and at that time because I was part of Project Delta then.
So John, when you were at Delta, did you serve with Dill, Howard, and Inscore? They were all sergeants. I think it was Bill Dill, Howard Inscore, and I don't remember the other guy's first name.
Yeah, I think I remember Deal, the name.
Yeah.
And I'd have to, Dallas Chapman is my, my memory advisor, or Jerry Nelson. He's got the best memory I've ever seen of everything that happened during that time period.
Yeah. Actually, when I got in country, Dill brought me over to Project Delta, see if I'd get on that. And there wasn't room or whatever it was. And that was in early January 70. And then I got sent down to Delta.
Yeah, I just gone to Thailand then. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. If we have something again.
Before you go, let me say one thing. Everybody's got all those email addresses on the email that I sent.
Yes, and I've saved that email.
And you can have 40 minutes for free without anything from Zoom. If you want to set up your own Zoom meeting, you can do it, and you got those email addresses to do it with. It's not very complicated. I've got to move on to other things. I got stuff I've dropped for the last 8 months to do this project. So have at it, because I can't be doing all that.
Steve, thanks.
You've done enough.
Enjoyed this. It was great.
Yeah. Yes, it was, Steve. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I gotta go, guys.
I'm out of here too.
And good to see everybody.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
I think you read about Lucky Leaf. What is that? One of your books?
That's in my SOG command histories.
Oh, okay. And it's just a blurb, huh?
It's about a page.
Interesting.
There's a lot of stuff out there that we haven't got into, and my next project is 9 volumes of the DAO history from the 73 to 75 period. And if people pay any attention to reading that, they're really going to have a whole different outlook on what happened. We talked very badly about the LLDB in our camps, and it was probably well deserved. But the fact is that when Abrams decided to get rid of special forces, and he turned them all into border ranger camps, but he didn't take the ranger officers to restaff the camps. He left the same LLDB in charge of every single one of the camps that they turned over to border rangers. And considering how badly those people had mistreated the CIDG, taking money away from them, stealing their pay for haircuts and uniforms, these guys are going to be out in the middle of nowhere with 400, 600 CIDG. And without the support, without all the air assets that are available, and they're going to be out there. Well, part of it was because when they closed down the Special Forces operation, they closed down the high command, the Vietnamese high command. So everybody who was left in Special Forces reported to the Ranger groups. And they did not report to B teams, C teams, or the high command. And that probably cut off the need to pay somebody on the next level. So these guys became a lot better officers because they didn't have to pay the guy above them. And when you read this history from the 73 to 75 timeframe, you're going to see these camps, for the most part, were still there and still operating well toward the end of the war. Doc Peck, which is probably one of the most exposed camps of the time, was finally evacuated in 1974. They closed down all the border ranger camps in Four Corps because they had been so successful in 1972, cleaning up the area. And they took all the CIDG and put them into mobile ranger groups that went up into the other Corps areas. There's a different thing happening, but we were surprised, or we should be surprised at what did happen. And when their bullets ran out, there was nothing really left for them to do. And that we can attribute to the post-Watergate Congress. So
Doc Peck broke my heart.
yeah, but they lasted a really long time.
Yeah. I left 2 Corps in August of 70, and we didn't turn over to Ranger, but we were about to when I went home. It would have been August of 70.
Well, the Mike Force pretty well got split up. The camps stayed as Rangers, and they stayed integrated. The Mike Force went to the 2 Corps Ranger Battalion, but I don't really see a pattern there. It didn't get used in the same way. Really, 2 Corps Mike Force was really overworked. Everybody had demands on it, and they were all over the place. And you had the Khartoum Mike Force going into Bambi Tut area. You had Bambi Tut Mike Force going into the Khartoum area. At one of the SF conventions, the general who was making a presentation on what was going on in the Gulf War, he started to say, and then the 173rd was OPCON to Special Forces. The whole room erupted because we had been OPCON to the 173rd so many times in 2 Corps.
I spent a year with the 173rd.
Yeah.
The 503rd.
Anyway.
We were the last, in 2 Corps, we were the last battalion. I was with the 4th Battalion in Khartoum.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the last, because even during the siege of Dak Sang in April, it was only the 1st and 4th Battalions that were left. And then after Dak Sang at Doc Peck, the 1st Battalion was deactivated, I think.
Well, I have a friend, he's an OCS classmate of mine, and he wrote a really good book on Cam Duke, where he was at when Cam Duke was overrun. And he's been encouraged to write a book about Doc Siang and Doc Peck in 1970. So I'll point him in your direction. So dust off your memory.
Yeah, I went in on the second day of the siege, and at Doc Peck, it had pretty much.
Hold on a minute.
Tom, when were you at Moc Hoa?
Say again?
When were you at Moc Hoa?
Let's see. Came there in 68. They closed. I was at Chau. They closed the camp out in August. I believe it's in August. And then I went to B40 for a couple of weeks, and then I went to Moc Hoa. And I was there until December of 69.
I left in August of 68. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I must have came. Must have came right after that. I was there. And I came there. It was after, because I know they closed out or they converted B42 to a MACV camp, and I went back to camp. I went to Cantal B40. So I'm just like time frame of August. It was in the fall, like there, and then I was there until November, December 69. I don't remember exactly, but it was around. I came home New Year's Day of 70. So right around that time. I spent all of my time there. Captain Tisworth, I remember Captain Tisworth and Tibor Beerbaum, Lieutenant Beerbaum.
Yes.
Well,
Was the excellent.
Was our leader. And I think somebody told me Tisworth died. Steve?
Let's look up here.
Tisworth.
Yes, he did. And also today they said that he was directly prior to Cook.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Cook. That was toward the end of my tour there.
But I don't know what the actual months of tour was, so that's a problem for me.
Okay.
I have a picture somewhere. It's on Facebook, but I was looking for the actual, snapshot. I was going to put it in front of the camera.
Yeah.
But I can't find it for some reason. But anyway, it's a little reunion we had about 10 years ago in Texas. A-402 and Burleson and Woods were there from 401. Blue was there too. I'm going to look for that picture. Like tomorrow is 403.
And 404.
And from 403, who's going to be there?
Every one of the camps, I had about 30 email addresses. So we have less than 10 people here today. So that was 1 in 3 people that I was able to contact that actually showed up.
Yeah, okay, that's true because they all went to 403 went to Canto. So anybody after that, but the only ones I knew today were Blue and Burleson and Burdish.
Well, Burdish was not the same time as you were.
Yeah,
but you knew him elsewhere.
No, Burdish and I were toe chow together. We went on a blackjack together. We went on that POW raid to get the roll together. He went to Moc Hoa, but it was almost like he was there a month. He went home. He was at the end of his tour. But yeah, I went out with Burdish on a blackjack and on the POW raid.
All right, on 403, based on past experience, Ruben Garcia, Robert Oxner, Fred McKenzie was here earlier today, but he couldn't get his voice working. Tommy Daniels.
Tommy Daniels says he remembers me at Toe Chow, but I don't remember him. Asna, he was there when I was there, but I don't remember him at all. Meaning, when you got 2 teams, you got your own little circle of friends,
Yeah.
But I don't. In fact, he went out with us, or he talks about going out because I emailed with him, and but I don't remember him. Yeah, it's sort of odd, I mean, he talks about the operation when they opened up A416. A company from Toe Chow went in, and a company from Nam Phuc went in. And he says he was with us out of Tocha, but I don't remember him. You know, I mean,
Well, we had two teams at Chau.
yeah,
You had 403 and 402.
yeah.
It's a little complicated.
But so like I said, and they were pretty full teams too. And we had our own little circle of friends. You know, I hung out with Blue and Simpson. But I don't remember Ashina there.
How about Alcaraz? You
Huh?
remember him?
Who?
Mateo Alcaraz?
Oh yeah, I remember him.
I talked to him in Hawaii. I hope he show up. A couple of people seem to remember him pretty well.
He was a big guy. I didn't sort of associate with him. And there was another Camo guy named Panoke, P-A-N-O-K.
Yeah, I talked to him too.
They weren't like in my circle of friends, and I never went to the field with them. It seems like they didn't make it to Moc Hoa. Maybe they went to Canto. I don't know. Yeah, there was so many. It was almost like two full teams at that time. I know there was a lot of guys there.
Well, that was the case. There were two full A teams,
yeah,
and two different battalions of the Mike Force.
Well, when we became Mike Force, we became the 2nd Battalion. And
402 became the 2nd, and 403 became the
3rd Battalion.
3rd Battalion.
And 401 was the Mike Force, and they became the 1st Battalion.
Okay, but they 403 went to Canto sometime in '68.
Yeah, early on. A funny thing happened after Tet, so that would have been into February of '68. A message came in to Tochau. It said Sasani, bag and baggage to the C team. So Kittleson checked on it and he said, there's a guy at the C team and he's 6 like me, 11F like me. In fact, I'd gone through training group with this guy. He wanted to go to the Mike Force. So they said, okay, a logical switches takes Sasani to the same rank, the same MOS, same time and country. And he sent me to the C team. Air operations, S3 Air. And B40 had just sort of formed. And I became aware that Malika was the sergeant major. So every time I saw Malika around the thing, I said, get me back, get me back. And about 2 to 3 weeks later, from the time I went, Malika came to me and said, tomorrow, bag and baggage at the airstrip, you're going back.
Malika is like 97 years old right now.
I mean, what?
He lives in Colorado. On the phone, he sounds really good.
I thought he passed away.
No.
He's a World War II vet.
Yeah, he could be Revolutionary War veteran, 97 fucking years old.
Well, what happened, the guy that I'd gone through training group, I saw his name on that one of those rosters that you put up. I won't say his name, but he didn't do too well on the Mike Force. He didn't do too well at all. And I decided to switch us back. My troops thought I'd taken a, what do they call it? An extension leave. But yeah, but it was interesting because while I was at Tocha, I was 4-3, and then at Moc Hoa I was 4-2. I don't know.
Well, 403, no, 402 went to Moc Hoa from Tocha.
Yep.
403 went to Canto from Tocha. Probably at the same time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then you had a 442
Before I went in,
going to Tocha.
did Parkinson's
There's Don Blue.
declining.
Who's back?
Hey, Steve. Hey, Randy. How's it going?
Good. What's up?
Not too much. Not too much. So you still in Weatherford?
Yeah, I'm still in Weatherford.
Okay.
Actually, I'm in a county, but I have a Weatherford address. It's for whatever reason, but I live in the county.
Oh, okay.
Weatherford is down the street, about a block away.
Oh, did your daughter get married?
Huh?
Did your
Yeah, she
daughter
got
get
married last June.
Oh, okay. And
Well-
it was Aruba or where was it?
Well, she got married in Dallas.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
very small wedding family. Then they went to Mexico and got married in Cancun. Symbolic party time, you know.
Yeah.
It was really, really well. And I went to Mexico. I didn't want to go, but I went. I don't like to travel anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got married June a year ago.
Oh, okay. And where are they living?
Irving.
Oh, okay.
Irving. In fact, she was supposed to come tonight, her husband, and take me out to dinner, but she just called and said change it to Friday. But
Oh.
yeah, she bought a house in Irving years ago, and they're living in it, and they're doing real well. He works for it's like the 5th or 6th largest accounting firm in the world. BPO, DPO. It's got 3 letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barton Dunn and Osborne or something like that.
Huh?
Barton something and Osborne.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, they do well. They do well. They got 4 dogs.
Oh shit.
I don't understand. Well, 3 because they had what do they call it?
Malamute.
Yeah, Malamute. A puppy, cuter than hell. But he got aggressive around people. Snapping at them. So they got a trainer, and a big time trainer in North Texas said this dog is something wrong. And then they got a hold of the breeder, and the breeder says, okay, we'll take it back and give you another one from another litter. I don't know, maybe the dog was crazy, but so now they're back to 3 dogs, but 2 of them are very old, and they think they're gonna maybe last just a few more months. Anyway.
No, but those are the type of dogs you can't have them. They got to have something to do. They have to have a job, and you gotta. In fact, when my dog was a pup, I used to take him up to the dam and throw a frisbee down to the bottom of the hill and have him run up and down that hill 4 or 5 times to wear him out.
They took him everywhere. Out on a boat, they throw the ball in the water, jump in the water, get the ball, just very active. But as soon as another person came into the picture, he got vicious. Not vicious, but too aggressive.
Very protective, yeah.
Yeah.
When I got my dog, we got the dog on Friday, and on Monday, that dog started to school and went to school Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a year.
He went to what? He did what for a year?
He went to school for a year, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Training like?
Yes. My dog has been to 33 states, and people look and say, how well behaved it is. But that damn dog, and then we, after we went through all the training and the advanced training, we did agility. And then we got him certified as a service dog. And so, he has something to do all the time, and that's the job.
What do you call it? What do you call what you said the name?
Oh, it's an Australian Shepherd.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but yours is a Malamute, and it's the same thing. And it's a working dog. And the working dog is a working dog. They got to have a job.
They're super active. Yeah.
Yes.
Super active. And then she got that one, and he got it's sort of a bigger dog. It's a working dog. It's I don't know. And the 2 dogs were complete opposites. They got along and everything, but his dog just didn't. Her dog would run around.
Yeah.
Opposites. Anyway. So what are you doing? You're doing nothing? You just,
Well, you know, with the COVID thing, and we pretty much shut down. But I bought a motorhome about 4 years ago, and we used to take off from May through September, you know, go up to Montana and Idaho and South Dakota and all of that. But the last 2 years, because of, you know, COVID, we shut that down. And then my mother-in-law and father-in-law are having a rough time, and the wife doesn't want to be more than, you know, several hours away, so we have to get back.
you still down around Austin somewhere?
Yeah, I still got our property, you know, up at Canyon Lake area. I stopped shooting though.
You don't shoot anymore?
Nah, I gave that up.
Yeah, I haven't been to a reunion since the one in El Paso. That's like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I went to Jacksonville and Charlotte. I'm trying to think which was the last one. I think Jacksonville was the last one I went to.
I just don't like to travel. I don't even like driving to the airport. I just don't like to travel. When I went to Mexico for my daughter's wedding, oh, it took every bit of energy to, I had to go, but I just don't like traveling. I don't want to be bothered.
Yeah, Drew's trying to get me to come up to the convention.
Huh?
Drew's trying to get me to come up to the convention. He called me again because he moved out of New Mexico back up to Colorado Springs.
Who's that?
Drew Dix.
Oh, okay. I saw him years ago at a SFA. Where was it? In Houston, I think. Anyway.
Yeah. Now, Drew and I talk probably once a week because my pup is one of his dog's pups. Is what?
Yeah.
Hey, Don, tell Drew to give me a call and give me a new number. I tried to reach him when I was doing one of his camps in there, and all the numbers and his nonprofit, and all those numbers didn't work. I lost it.
Okay, I'll send you his number.
Okay.
And he's up in just about an hour south of Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
He left Membray, New Mexico, probably about 4 months ago. Bought a new place.
Yeah. Well, I decided I'm not going to go to Colorado Springs this year. The first time I've missed a convention except for the COVID-19, but it was too confusing when they started changing hotels and whatnot.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
And now they got it figured out, but at this point it's too late. I've already made up my mind that I told them I'll if they put up a computer, I'll stand by at Zoom.
Yeah.
So. Hey, Don, be sure to tell Drew I said hello. We were pretty.
Yeah, I mentioned to him every time I talk to him.
Yeah, we were pretty good friends in training group. We hung out during classes and things, but he was married. In the evening, he'd go home. He was married, so we didn't socialize, But the little group hung out all the way through, just about.
Yeah, but his wife and my wife are good friends. They let us go our way, and they get together and do what they do.
I see him here and there in the drop or something. I see his picture, but I haven't seen him since Houston about 7 or 8 years ago. No, more. My wife was alive.
Yeah.
So it was before 2003. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, we're pretty good friends.
So did you get the airboat people in? Steve?
Did I get what?
No, the airboat people are 404 tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Okay.
It's 401, 402 today, 403, 404 tomorrow, then 405 and B40 on Thursday.
I know you keep sending me an email about each one of them, and I'm going, I was at that camp and that camp.
Yeah, well, you get the emails for each one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wanted to get back. I was talking to Drew, and that's why I had to get off the last time. So, You guys be safe, and thanks again, Steve.
Okay, well, good to see you.
All right. Adios.
Look, I don't know.
Take
I
care.
haven't been to Canyon Lake for a while. The chapter 15 did a pretty good job up there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good chapter. I mean, I think we have about 250 members. So,
Mhm.
okay, you guys take care.
Take it easy.
You too.
You know, you put out that book years ago of Special Forces people that have died. And I think it was up to about 2010.
Yeah.
You never updated it, did you?
No, I didn't. And I'll tell you why. Everybody kept coming to the table looking at the book and saying, my name's not here.
Ah.
And I said,
but you know,
they're all dead. And he said, I don't want it.
I
So
bought that
a
book.
lot of copies.
I bought that book. I have it.
Yeah.
And the SF list had me update the list. So name by name, I went through your book, you know, and because a lot of people on the SF list, you know, email, they died and they didn't tell anyone or whatever. So they sort of cleaned out the list.
Now, at this point, I have about 20,000 names in my database, right? This is the first time that I have more people dead than I know that are alive.
Wow.
I have about 7,600 people that are known dead. And I have about 6,900 that I have emails for, or I know are alive. So that crossover point has finally been reached, but there's still another 6,000 people that I don't know, have any idea where they are.
Every once in a while, I'm told, you know, like you remember so-and-so, well, he died. But then again, I guess, you know, hearsay, you know, when I told John Burdish about that POW raid, there were 12 of us, 12 Americans. And there's only about 3 or so left.
Well, in the process of doing this, I have found a lot of people, and I've also found a lot of obituaries.
A lot of what?
Obituaries.
Oh, obituaries.
Yeah, I'll look for somebody. If I can't find them, I'll check the obituaries and see if I can find them there.
Well, there's a girl or a woman.
Bonnie Cooper.
Yeah, she puts out SF taps, you know.
Yeah, I send her the information and she sends it to me. But just here from 4 Corps that I haven't sent out yet. Let me see here. Drafts. Come on. So share screen. Okay, this is the list I'm about to send.
For what?
That's obituaries from 4 Corps.
The history? Oh, obituaries.
Obituaries.
Oh.
Each one is an obituary.
Wow.
Steve, you gonna send that out to everybody?
Now I'm gonna send it off to the SFA and to Bonnie.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if they're ready really to put on a master obituary list somewhere, but I mean that's just 4 Corps, and that's what I just finished up 4 Corps, but I did 2 Corps, I Corps, 2 Corps, 3 Corps, similar lists.
That guy there, where do you go? Francis Du Bois.
Yeah.
Can you click on that and see what it says about him? I can't, can I? No, I can't.
You can't, no.
The reason I ask is he sounds like he was on 402.
He was.
Yeah, he was an enlisted man that went to OCS.
Yeah.
Sort of quiet guy, reserved, wasn't very warm. And that's him, huh?
Yep.
Boy, I guess we're all dead. All dead. Boy, that doesn't look like him. But then again, you're
That's
talking
him.
about, yeah, he would have been close to my age.
Here, joined the National Guard, commissioned, entered active duty service, Greenland, Vietnam, until 72. Retired with 38 years of service.
Wow. What rank?
I don't know.
You think that's him? He was on 402?
There are a lot of Frank M. Dubois. Same middle initial, same name, same birthday.
All right.
That's him. No, and the damn obituary says you in special forces. So, I mean, how much more do you want?
He didn't really, if it is him, he wasn't a very warm guy. I don't remember a lot of guys. Well, then again, he was an officer at the time. He was a lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We did, like when we got to Moc Hoa, it seems like we had a lot of officers. At Chau, we basically had, the CO and XO for each team. They weren't like extra officers. At Moc Hoa, there was about 2 or 3 extra officers.
Well, that was because you were back to the standard A team. You had XO, CO, and Capo. When you were at Chau, you had 2 A teams.
Yeah. At Moc Hoa, yeah, we only had the 1, but we were way over 12 guys most of the time because we always had like 2 or 3 extra officers.
No.
And it was the same thing in 2 Corps in the Mike Force there. I was on a 204, and we had about 4 officers, if not 5. Yeah.
Mike Force never had a limitation. That they basically used an A team, TO, and E for each battalion, and so there were funny numbers, and then you had the B team, but the B team had they had extra people because the Mike Force B team didn't need to have all the people that a regular B team had to have. So those people got shifted down to the battalion level as company commanders. And you basically have platoon leaders, medics, platoon leaders.
Yeah, we didn't really need those other MOSs. Medics, yeah, we needed, but
they served as platoon leaders.
Yeah, and like in 2 Corps, all we had was a telephone. We didn't have any radios. 0 radios. We butted up against B-24 by a triple row concertina, and it was a gate, so we could go eat with them. But we didn't have a radio. We had just a telephone.
You had radios in the field.
Huh?
You had radios in the field.
Oh, we had radios in the field, but no talk or radio room,
No.
And when we were on stand down, we didn't conduct any med caps or, we sat practically in the middle of town, So just all we needed was, was medics, maybe. Yeah.
You had to fill the slots with bodies. So you had your demo and your weapons man. They're platoon leaders.
Yeah.
And that's where everybody was. And I in 4 Corps, I had the same problem, trying to figure out whether to structure you as an A team or structure you as a battalion.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of split the difference and showed people what posts they played in the battalion and what post they played in an A team. So
Yeah, in 2 Corps, we had more officers, so they were the company commanders. In 4th Corps, you know, anytime I went out, I don't remember having officers with us. Well, when we went on the Blackjack, we had an officer, and on that Lucky Leaf, we had an officer.
you had a battalion commander and an XO. So there's 2 officers out of an A team on a site like Chau.
Yeah.
Your capo officer probably functioned as the S4 slash S5 on the battalion staff, so that you didn't really have officers at the company level. Your team sergeant and your chief radio operator was also on the battalion staff. So your battalion was maybe 6 people. And so the rest of the people down there as company commanders and as platoon leaders, as much as they can muster the people.
I've seen TO&Es on the internet, you know, for the Mike Force. And
well, there was a TO&E.
Yeah. I've seen a book with a TO&E
yeah.
on the internet. But, you know, to say we followed that TO&E, you know.
Well, the TO&E was made for the Trang Mike Force, I think. And that's what was used as a standard. But every Mike Force had its own origin.
Yeah.
You know, they came up from different places. And they evolved. And yours is the only 4 Corps Mike Force, the only Mike Force that started out as different A teams. And it's very unusual. I mean, the Cantu Mike Force, actually, that was an A team from Quin Yon.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they happened to be in the right place at the right time during the Tet Offensive. And then somebody said, okay, we don't need them anymore. We'll ship them off to Khartoum. So they went to Khartoum and became a battalion.
Yeah. I got there in August of 69. And yeah, they were not in that compound during Tet of 68.
No, they didn't exist.
Yeah, they didn't exist.
Right. There were you only had the Pleiku Mike Force. And they had just closed down one of the A teams in Quin Yon. And they brought the strikers and the A team back to Quin Yon City. And they just happened to be there.
Yeah, Captain James Gribben. He wasn't a captain at the time. He was with that team. He eventually took over the Khartoum Mike Force.
That was Thomas Swan or something of that sort. He got killed later. But they were there in Quin Yon when the Tet Offensive broke out. It was really an interesting thing because Quin Yon really had no idea what the hell they were going to do. And the NVA came in, took over the radio station, or VC came in, took over the radio station and a train park. So they were underneath the trains where they'd bring the trains up on this like a grease thing, like in a garage where you had this big hole in the ground and the car is sitting up on top of the hole. Well, they had trains sitting up on top of the hole, and the VC were underneath the trains. So they took a 105 up into the upper reaches of a hotel and shot the 105 at the train.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened. But I mean, if they didn't have that company or battalion from the CIDG in Quin Yon at the time, there was nobody else to defend the city. It was just a total fluke. And when Tet finished up, they turned around and looked at what happened. They moved CIDG from A camps into Bami Tut into Bowlock, into a bunch of other places in 2 Corps. And they said, hey, we need more Mike forces. Because here the CIDG did all the work. And so they set up a Bambi-Tut Mike force. Quinyon didn't need a Mike force. So they sent that to Khartoum. And ultimately you had like 6 battalions of Mike force.
5. In 2 Corps, there were 5.
2 Corps.
And a recon company.
And a recon company.
And then when the 5th Battalion got chewed up pretty bad at the siege of Buprang, it was downsized and became like the 2nd recon company.
Mm-hmm.
And we got some of those guys up in Khartoum toward the end. But as I understand, from what I remember, the 4th Battalion was the last battalion in existence. All the other ones had been deactivated. And we knew that deactivation was just around the corner. And we had stopped going out after Doc Peck. We stopped going out on operations.
Well, the handwriting was on the wall.
But I tell you what, the 2 Corps Mike Force, my year there, and the 4th Corps Mike Force, my year there was like night and day. Meaning, in 2 Corps, we were up mainly against main force, VC main force battalions, you know.
NVA main force battalions.
But in 2 Corps, it was all NVA battalions. And in 2 Corps, they had the sieges. Banhead, Buprang, Dak Siang, Dak Pek. So the contacts were, you know, battalion level. In 4th Corps, the largest contact was maybe a company, you know. But they were main force, so they, you know, there were no slouches. Plus, we went out on eagle flights a lot. But yeah, sort of 2 different years. Plus, the terrain was really different, you know.
Well, I would rather have my feet out of the water.
Well, that's another thing too. Yes, there were a lot of canals. And yes, on that Lucky Leaf, we inserted, like I say, before midnight, dark. We went into knee-deep water and didn't come out of knee-deep water until the following night. We walked all that night, morning through the day, into the night, never coming out of knee-deep water. And never had anything wrong with my feet. But I didn't really, yeah, there was canals, well, a lot of canals, but the areas that we seemed to work were not flooded, you know. They weren't bad. I've seen some camps like Kai Kai or other ones. God, the water was right up to the berm, you know.
Kai Kai was built as a floating camp.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, excuse me, gentlemen, I gotta go. It's been nice chatting. Take care. Stay safe.
Take care. Yeah, I gotta go to.
All right. Well, happy
Tomorrow,
to have you here.
Tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Very good.
You know, I fumbled through that camera thing. The reason I had the camera, it was given to me, I'm going to say 7 or 8 years ago. There was a documentary company in California. You know, you heard the name Albright.
Yeah, Bill Albrecht.
Huh?
Bill Albrecht.
Yeah. He was on the 1st Battalion in 2 Corps, on the Mike Force. Well, anyway, he got a hold of it somehow. They were going to do a documentary they were considering doing a documentary about Dak Siang. Considering. And it was me, Albrecht, Lopez, China Boy Lopez.
Yeah.
McDonald, Captain McDonald, and Captain Carey. They wanted to interview us to talk about it, see if it was good. And a friend of mine gave me this camera. So it's been sitting in the desk there all the last 7 or 8 years. But I'd almost forgotten how to hook it up. Because I don't mess with a computer.
Yeah, but this is easy. It's a piece of cake, really.
Well, like you, I'm sure, very familiar. but I asked the guys on SF Brothers, the Facebook page, and they said some of the computers today have a camera on it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't think mine has a camera. And well, I don't know. Then I remembered this thing, you know. And I hooked it up after I got on there, after you started, and forgot where to plug it into the computer. You know, I'm not good with a computer at all.
You did fine. You did fine.
Yeah, I'm ready for tomorrow.
Very good.
I won't know any of the 403 guys because I don't think there's any that came out of Tocho.
You wait and see.
Yeah.
Because, you know, all these meetings, I expect to have a lot more people at the meetings than I usually have. I-Corps spoiled me. There were a lot of people showed up for the I-Corps meetings. But for some reason, these have not had, if I have 30 people here and I'm only getting 10, that's not very good.
Well, you know, on Facebook, there's the SF Brothers. I think you're familiar with that one. Are you?
I don't do Facebook.
Huh?
I don't do Facebook.
At all? I mean,
I get a lot of messages, and I invite people to be friends. They ask to be friends. They say, okay, you can be my friend. So okay, right now.
Your name is mentioned quite a bit because they use you as a reference.
Yeah.
And they look up at your site, you know. But I run into more 2-Corps guys than I do 4th-Corps guys.
Probably. My force is a very coherent organization. 4-Corps was split up between all those different camps and moving around, changing their numbers around. You know, it took me a while to figure it all out. And just how it's
2-Corps had 2 more battalions than the 4th-Corps, my force. And then it was John. You remember John Lay? Yeah, you know that name? He's a medic.
George Lay.
No, well, this is John Lay. He was
L-E-Y.
Huh?
L-E-Y, yeah.
L-E-Y. He was at Moc Hoa with my force. He died a few years back. He sent me an article from a newspaper, I forget which one. And I've been told by other people that in 4th-Corps, they took the 3 battalions and formed it to a brigade. This is, you know, when Vietnam was standing down, formed it into a brigade and sent it to Cambodia. And it practically got wiped out. But
no, that's what happened. They took the Cambodians that were in the my force and they sent them to Cambodia.
The 3 battalions.
Well, it became 3 battalions because that's how many they were able to put together.
But he said they formed a brigade, and then the brigade was pretty much overcommitted many times, and I don't know, I forget.
The Mike Force were trained as soldiers to fight. The Cambodian army was not.
But you know what? Having worked a year with the Cambos and a year with the Montagnards, they were both pretty effective, you know. But damn, them Cambos were bloodthirsty, you know. They hated the Vietnamese. They wouldn't take a prisoner, they'd kill them. But the Montagnards weren't. Montagnards were good, you know.
The Montagnards are better soldiers, more disciplined, and more allied with the Americans.
Yeah.
The Cambodians were on their own, and you can think of peaceful Cambodians, but you should remember that Lon Nol came from the same stock as the people he was fighting.
With the Cambos,
not Lon Nol, Pol Pot.
Pol Pot.
Yeah, he's just the same as the people he was fighting.
With the Cambos, if the tide of battle was turning against you, they're going to leave the field, and you better go with them. You know, with the Montagnards, it was never ever a thought of that ever.
No.
Yeah, with the Montagnards, it happened at Dak Siang. The NVA would come in and dig in very close to us at night, just beyond hand grenade range. and then they start yelling at each other. The NVA would yell, "Give us the Americans and we'll let you go." But I never thought that they would do that. They didn't. But I thought to myself, the Campbell just might do it, to save themselves. With the Montyards, I never had that feeling.
No, they were loyal.
They were loyal. And the Campbells were too, but to a certain extent. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go.
All right, take care. Good seeing you.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
All right.
I better leave the camera right where it is. So I just click out, I guess, huh?
Yep. Down to the right, you'll see a box that's